Hello.
Dude, how are you doing?
Good to see you today.
Good to see you today. How are you? This is emotional intelligence versus intellectual intelligence.
Yeah, exactly. Today we are going to talk about both, and it's a pleasure to be sharing this with you.
Well, yeah, it is. It is. And what, you know, this is, it is an honor. And I have to say, Stephen, it's been quite a challenge this last hour. And you never know how it's all going to turn out. But you know what? Thank you for being here. Thanks for the big smile. And thank you. People that come on board here absolutely get enrolled in the conversation on the chat and also come on the panels with us. Jump on the panels, take a look at what we have to say, and challenge us. Thank you. Go ahead, Stephen. What is IQ?
Okay. IQ, the famous intelligence quotient.
Uh, that's what it is.
Okay, so supposedly the measure of our intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
However, this was discovered and the concept derived many, many decades ago. And at that time, there was a limited understanding of overall intelligence. And so we came to understand this idea of reading intelligence, mathematical intelligence, scientific intelligence,
Mm-hmm.
measure of our overall intelligence.
And you know what? Sometimes that's really helped our societies grow rapidly.
Well, right, because we were very focused on money and financial development and promotions and power.
Mm-hmm.
And so these were all very highly in demand skills.
So those
And so,
highly,
of course, that's
those,
what we were measuring.
so that's what we were mastering for the last 100 years. Longer than that.
That's right. That's what we wanted because we were focused on money and power. And so that's what we were measuring, and that's what we were getting.
Wow. So now it's shifting.
That's right. It's been several decades now that EQ has come more into the common parlance. And EQ, the emotional quotient, is now being measured and valued more and more. And you will know if you've been studying the happiness movement around the world that for the last 3 years, there has been an annual global happiness report, the World Happiness Report, and they are, as of this year, reporting that more and more governments are actually starting to get on this bandwagon. And so the happiness is all about the emotional quotient. But here's what I find really interesting.
You have something interesting.
Yeah, I don't think they're separate at all. I think they work hand in hand.
Really? Wow. And
So,
what makes that so?
well, because emotions are the energy behind everything.
Ah.
When we feel happy, we feel active.
Mm-hmm.
When we feel depressed, we feel inactive.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so, if we are emotionally intelligent and get our intelligence and our emotions up all the time, then we are also becoming more intelligent because our brains and our heart and our stomach are all operating together. And that is an intelligence booster. So
So
as we
there's significant ways you can measure it. Can you measure and can you measure emotional intelligence?
Well, there are tests for this, and you can go online and you can search out tests, and you can measure both IQ and EQ. But of course, you can measure your own happiness and your own emotional levels on a daily basis. And whether you use a tool like this incredible awesomeometer, or you have some other way of tracking it on your own, like through some kind of automatic measuring device that works through your smartphone, or you just count your laughs every day and get them working on the increase.
Well, isn't it? The government's getting more and more into it. I was talking today. We have several corporations that are measuring emotional intelligence instead of IQ, and finding that's more of what they're looking for in a person that can handle situations, and especially the HR department really probably likes the notion what that's. They're digging into this and finding out the right people to put in the right places.
Yeah, well, an interesting sidebar to this is this idea that, scientists have done measurement on individual and collective brain power. And we did this before, but we haven't really focused on it. Is if two people are fighting, some of the brain power at operation is 1/2 a brain.
So
when two people are collaborating, the sum of the brain power is 2 squared.
So you're double 2 squared. Yeah. That's 8 times.
That's right? 4 times.
4 times.
4 times. So you get 4 times the brain power of one person when you have 2 people collaborating. And if you are 3, then you get 3 squared, which is 9 times the brain power. So it's any wonder that the concept of masterminding works.
That's our next one.
You get 6 people in a room, that's the equivalent of 36 brains working on the problem. All focused on one issue.
Boy, that simple fact of 2 squared or 3 squared is incredible. Those are measurable results too, over and over in a lot of different statistics, hasn't it been? I've read a lot of articles that's how true that is.
Exactly. So getting back to our original discussion, if you have people in your organization that have a high EQ, then they are much more likely to be able to dissolve or prevent conflict and to get people working together, which gives you an incredible gain, an exponential gain in brain power in your organization. And that's going to increase communication effectiveness. It's going to increase creativity. It's going to increase intuition, and it's going to increase the options that you have available to you.
So awesome. So when somebody would come in and you're sitting up a boardroom and everybody has to be in that same high level of feeling inside, like a happiness feeling, a loving feeling towards everyone, then you are able to get that 3 squared.
Yeah, well, at least a feeling of collaboration, at least a feeling that we're in harmony within our team.
So it's also, if it's in harmony, you're at least in alignment with everyone. And then as long as there isn't anyone that has a negative attitude, that's the weakest.
Or a
different agenda.
Or a competitive attitude.
So those things are the ones that you have yes, that drains, that's your leak. That's what it's like, Achilles heel.
Exactly.
It drains the energy out of the whole room. and then all of a sudden you don't know, you're confused, don't know which way, you're not in the love and the happiness of creating a harmonious project or a forgiveness of the past.
Exactly right.
No.
Yeah. What you're in is a diminishment of your overall effectiveness. When one person is trying to win, your overall effectiveness is diminished.
Wow. So we have to find a way in all our conversations, if we're just even in a one, if we only have your corporation and you're the head of the corporation and you bring other people in and enroll them, it's the harmonious parts of it within yourself to bring everyone in alignment with your highest desires and their highest desires. Then it's a winning combination, not just your own.
Yeah. So this attitude is the thing to hire for, because people can learn skills, but they will seldom switch attitudes. They can, but they mostly won't.
So there's a question here. What role does mindfulness play in this?
Well, mindfulness, it plays a big role in anything and everything. So being mindful means being present. And so if we're mindful, then we can be really noticing when things start to go off the rails, then they start to go away from harmony. And when we notice them going off track, then we can take immediate action to resolve the difficulty while it's still small. And that, of course, takes way less effort than waiting until things get right out of control.
So the sooner that we recognize that the people that you're associated with, any one of those people are in disharmony, we have an opportunity to have mindfulness to correct it. Are we on the same course? Are we looking to be in the same direction here? Are we looking to, as your dreams being fulfilled, as the one that has the leak or the so-called leak? Are we showing it up that we are actually, addressing the ultimate, the cause of the overall cause? Let's say it's happiness initiative to get out in the world. Is everybody in alignment? Which one isn't? Why are we having frustration in this little corner? Shore it up. It's in alignment. We fulfill many dreams, including all of ours.
Yeah. So if somebody is not in alignment, then they are probably not being acknowledged.
Wow. Simple acknowledgement.
Yeah, so acknowledgement, it might require a change of course, it might require taking on some new aspect, but at least start with acknowledgement.
So acknowledgement it plays a role because of the, they want to feel included and actually have a part of them be the understanding that they're being heard.
Yeah, exactly.
About being heard, and it's about being that they feel that they've contributed to the overall vision that everyone is collaborating on at the same time.
That's exactly right. Now, it might be that we just didn't understand what they said. It might be that they have a perspective that we haven't seen. It might be that they have a hidden agenda that is not out on the table. It might be that they feel that it's a competitive environment and that they're not winning. Or they can win in a surreptitious way if they let it go ahead the way it seems to be going. So
the emotional intelligence plays in this. I don't mean to cut you off, but the emotional intelligence plays in this, in how we are able to recognize the person that is with the weakest link.
Exactly.
So if we're
And
able to know if that person's in that room and he's the weak or she is the weakest link in the room, we have to find a way to shore that up.
yeah, exactly. And let's be clear what we're talking about when we say the weakest link, because it may actually be the strongest person in the room, but it's the weakest link in the teamwork.
Wow.
So not to say that that person is the weakest person. It's to say that that is the weakest leak in our overall team effectiveness.
Could be exactly. They have a different. The key person could be the one with the agenda.
Exactly. Exactly.
And you never know that. Wow. They got it to a certain level, and that's really important to know. Or actually, you know, when you're sitting in a boardroom talking to 10 people, and the 10 people, and you've got the head. Yeah, I never thought of it that way. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Well, what we're talking about today is IQ and EQ, everyone. Please put any thing in the chat. We'd be glad to answer any questions, and also jump on our panel if you have questions that you could ask us about emotional intelligence and intelligence. And Stephen and I would love to be challenged on this, because it would be it's a great topic to really be in the awareness. And
thanks for opening up the hot seat. I find this conversation like really interesting because you know, I've been spending a lot of time with the notion of human-centered design, right? That it, to sum it up, for me it just means being empathetic, right?
That's an important.
Yeah, and I think that notion of empathy and mindfulness, you know, I'm trying to get my head around the semantics of it all, right? There's happiness, there's empathy, there's mindfulness, there's patience, you know,
Yeah. Okay, so let me.
I guess, Stephen, the question is any one of those words and the semantics of it all more dominant than another, one that should lead the pack, if you will?
Yeah, okay. So I think what we want to do is to go behind those words.
Okay.
So for me, the one that I focus on, that I love to get behind, is happiness. And I think that word is very poorly understood. And so what I would say happiness is harmony. And it's harmony with three things. So you want to have harmony with yourself, harmony with your environment, and harmony with your purpose for living. And if you have harmony with those three things, then there's no more fighting in your world. And
so
what that allows is really high productivity, creativity, health, fitness, sleep, wealth building, success, achievement, everything you want.
So, Stephen, did you say self, environment, and reason for living?
Yeah, purpose for living.
Purpose. It's funny that you say that. There's probably 30 years ago, a dear friend that was very much ahead of me, I guess, in terms of their the evolution within themselves. They said this, which kind of echoes what you just said. They said that we all need three things. We need someone to love, something to do, and something to look forward to, which kind of parallels what you said in a different way. You know, because the something to look forward to is your purpose.
Yeah.
Something to do is perhaps your environment, and the someone to love is hopefully you love yourself.
That's exactly the point I was going to make. And when you love yourself, then you become more lovable, and you love everything and everybody.
So are you working with individuals, or are you working with the enterprise mostly, or both?
Both, actually. Yeah, I started off working with individuals, and then recently I developed a happiness-based business model that is working extremely well. And so I'm now working with organizations on that as well.
Mhm.
Interesting. I mean, it's the work that I'm doing. You know, I am a longtime technology salesperson on the enterprise class side of the, you know, big software projects. But 8 years ago, I crossed over to the marketing side of the conversation, and that's led me back to the beginning, which is taking all that knowledge from the marketing and the social business and et cetera, and turning it back on the art of selling, which I no longer call sales. I call it collaborate to co-create, which
Nice. I love it.
Yeah.
which really leverages what you guys do, you know. And I know when I have conversations with salespeople, they're like, no. You still need salespeople to sell. Here are the tactics and here are the tools. I say, no, because of this smartphone.
I'd love to get your take on this, Art. In my experience, the biggest and best tool for selling is understanding the person you're talking to.
I think that we agree wholeheartedly. I mean, in a past life, in the last century, I thought it was listening, but I've grown to appreciate the fact that if I know the narrative of the person I'm speaking to, and I've taken the time to do the work to understand them, then I think of Einstein, who said that if I only have 60 minutes to answer a question, if I only have 60 minutes to solve a problem, I take 55 minutes to think of what the question is, and then it only takes 5 minutes to answer it. And that's the thing. I think in sales, that's true as well. If you don't define an ideal prospect and you think you can sell to everyone in India, you know, if I could just sell this to everybody in India, I could buy the internet, right? 1.5 billion people. But then you don't know anything about anyone in that equation. But if I could sell the same item to 30,000 people in America, 30,000 people that I could define because I know they need the thing that I have, that it solves some problem in their life, then I accomplish two things. One, I'll sell more. I'll have more meaningful conversations.
Mhm.
And I'll make meaning in the lives of the people that I've eliminated some business problem or some personal anxiety. So it's a win-win-win when you know your ideal prospect.
That's exactly the point as I see it. I think you've hit on it exactly. In my what I call the 5R business model, which is the happiness-based business, then the aim is not to make money. The aim is to help people solve a problem. And then you get so good at understanding their problem, you understand it better than they do. And you can keep on providing better and better and more useful and more helpful solutions.
I think I would insert this because I see, Stephen, we think alike. I agree with everything you just said. I think that there's an opportunity, however, if I'm going to put myself in a position to understand my ideal prospect, know the problem that they have in their world, and know how the product or service or solution that I offer changes their world. It's not magic, because although I know that, it's very likely they're going to resist what I have because they don't know me, right? So the way I believe we have to insert ourselves and give ourselves the opportunity to be inserted in those conversations where people are either need what we have or in a position and ready to buy what we have is to enter the conversation with a little bit of gravitas, a little bit of clout or some authority in that domain. Because absent authority, why am I listening anyway? Right?
Well, authority can really help, but one way to get authority is to meet them at their bus stop and to speak their language.
But that assumes that we meet at the bus stop and I turn and I look and say, hey, and we start a conversation. If they're in Cincinnati and I'm in Tucson, then it's likely that because the consumer of today is the most empowered ever because of this. And they say, okay, Siri, I need to solve a problem, and here's my problem. Who do I call?
Yeah.
That's what we do, right? We Google it, and I might get Robert, I might get you, Stephen, and I might get a third person that I do my search and I come up. These guys know about happiness, and I want happiness.
Yeah.
But however, the person that has the temperament and the temperament that knows me and my narrative best is a fourth person I didn't choose. That fourth person can insert themselves into the conversation if they come to me and say, I know you've been having these conversations and you're about ready to sign up for the course.
Yes.
However, have you thought about these couple of things? And those things might be more important than anything you really brilliant guys have said, because they know my narrative in an intimate way.
Well, they understand you deeper.
They understand me deeper, but what I'm suggesting is that, well, let me say it differently. Understanding is mission critical. That's empathy, right?
Let's say you got a John Asseroff, and then you've got, Stephen L. Whiteley. You've got a different, who are you going to work with? Part of it is who is going to understand you deep enough to deliver what your purpose, or so you're on target with your the outcome that you're wanting to achieve. Who can tap into and get you to where you want to go?
And this is where the brand strategist in me comes out, because I believe that buying decisions, no matter what decision, whether it's a Learjet or it's a bag of jalapeno popcorn or cheddar popcorn, it's an emotional decision.
Yes.
And if that's true, and we are emotional creatures, we're very emotional creatures, the way we were 40,000 years ago. We make decisions not based on the analytics of, right, but we make decisions on, and this goes back to gravitas and clout and authority. If I want to do business, if I'm gonna take my wallet out and I'm gonna pay money, then I want, one, to feel good about the person I'm doing business with. I want to have a great relationship with that person, but I also want to have the confidence that before that conversation that won me over, that they bought clout and experience to that conversation.
Yeah, sure. You need to do that. I agree. And mostly we do that by either some high-level endorsement or through other client stories, testimonials.
Well, Stephen, I and this is part of my mantra, and I believe it happens this way, and it's that there are a lot of there are a lot of smart people that are not willing to do the work that's required to carve out the space for their ideas to be thought leading ideas. And that work is what you're doing now on Blab. You're sharing your ideas, you're building an audience, and the audience was giving you hand claps, and that builds bigger audience, and with that comes the gravitas, the authority and clout. That's not the most important thing. I think I agree with you. Happiness, empathy, mindfulness, all those things are much more powerful and important. But when it comes to separating, and I don't even like saying it this way, separating me from my dollars sounds like last century kind of thinking, right?
Exactly.
When I joyfully hand you a pile of money for the service you provide, I also want to know that I can check that box that says I am working with an authority, and the only way for me to do, and even a reference doesn't always do it, because I've got references from my best friend. Right?
If you're right, references don't do it.
But the thought leadership that we build, like on Blab and Periscope, on your blog and on YouTube and from the podium, that's the hard work that shows that the business planning was the plan was to be a business that positions itself to share the power of the ideas that enable them to help me and serve me.
Yeah,
Because you do all that work to make meaning in other people's lives, but
Sure.
you have to do the work. It's kind of like being a neurosurgeon, right? You want to save people, but you've got to spend years and years and years in school, and that's the authority. Now you've got brain cancer. Which one of these guys are you going to choose? And I think, and you know, I don't make as much money as a brain surgeon, but I think the work that I do is as important as a brain surgeon, because when I can get somebody's programming in their head rewired to be a better person, to be more human,
Yeah. That's what I do.
there you go. There you go. And I think that's why I joined this conversation, because I enjoy the work that you do. I think the semantics of how you define what you do, and no doubt the amount of focus that you put in that space is important, and I honor you for that. For me, I've got four boxes or four pillars that I focus on, and it's the brand strategy that's fueled with the storytelling, the stories that I need to tell that I can only tell after I understand my ideal prospect, right? And I tell the stories that engage and nurture those conversations. But I've learned that the stories that I tell myself as a business owner, or my client tells themselves, is the programming that gets them wired to do a better job at that, and to be committed to doing the hard work they need to build that base of thought leadership. So story, and if I use the newspaper analogy, you know, above the fold, story and brand lives up here, and the marketing and sales, or the marketing and the collaboration, the co-create solutions, is below the line. If you want to do this marketing and get sales training from me, no, you got to do this first. Because
I think that makes great sense.
Yeah. And that's why sales trainers always take issue with me. Like, no, I can teach you how to sell just fine without doing all that other stuff. And I reply that maybe in the last century that worked, but in the third millennia, we require more.
We do. It's a sense of
People are getting smarter.
Yeah. We have these appendages to our brain that give us information. Like, this is like the Library of Alexandria, right? I mean, I can
Exactly.
and if we use it right, and I think depending on what if you're selling pens, maybe you can use sales tactics, right? But as the product gets more sophisticated, then you have to know me and what my needs really are. But I submit that even if you're selling pens, I use the analogy to go to Stephen's point about ideal prospect, that if I'm a pencil salesman and I've determined that number 5 pencils is what I'm going to sell, because I'm selling them to parents that have students that are freshmen, sophomores, or juniors that are taking the SAT. And the lead in the number 5 pencils doesn't require sharpening as much. And it gives them 10 more minutes than that SAT to potentially get another or few questions right and raise their score. I can sell that pen to my ideal prospect because it's got a compelling value proposition. But I can't sell that pencil that's number 5 lead unless I define that ideal prospect in such a granular way that the solution smacks them upside the head. And they go, oh my gosh, of course that's right. I need 10 more minutes.
Yeah. Art, it has been a real pleasure getting to know you and to listen to what you have to say. You've been really insightful and really helpful. Thanks you so much.
Absolutely, guys. Thanks for letting me join your conversation, and have a beautiful Saturday. We'll see you next time on Blab.
Hey, thanks very much. It's been a pleasure. Bye. Yeah, that was great.
It was really powerful too, actually.
Yeah, exactly. Because what he's saying is, in addition, or this is my take on it anyway, in addition to intelligence quotient and emotional quotient, there's also an element that is required in there, is to establish yourself as an authority. If you want to use the IQ and the EQ in sales.
In sales, but I wish it was still on. The combination between the two brings that level to him, to being actually speaking as the authority. If you're a business owner, as a single business owner, and the people that are coming on to resonate with him, would say the intelligence part, the emotional intelligence, he becomes the authority, because the I comes in alignment with one another, which is, you would say, harmony, but he'd actually be the authority. The person becomes the authority.
Yeah, but you become the authority because you have used your high IQ and EQ to get a deeper understanding.
Yeah. Art, thanks, man. You didn't have... Wow.
Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah.
Huge value added. Thanks, Art.
Really, really, really incredible.
Let's focus on both IQ and EQ, but if we feed the EQ, that is generally the lower of the two. So if we feed the EQ and then let that boost the IQ, then in my mind, we are getting more and more out of every team that we're working in, including our collaboration with ourselves.
So that'd be more collaborative with ourselves when we actually use.
Yeah, because like we've talked about many times, fighting is the most wasteful thing on the planet. And when we're fighting inside ourselves, it's just as wasteful. And that's why harmony with ourselves is so valuable.
Well, when we are, yeah. So when we do have that helpfulness within ourselves to create harmony within our situation and our home life, and as well as our work, then that's our level of emotional intelligence actually is lifted.
Yeah, when we create harmony inside ourselves and with our purpose, then we have this deep meaning in everything we do, and we're doing willingly from a position of being, then that automatically raises our vibrational level.
Position of being loving, position of being loving and trusting and free to speak and express ourselves. That is showing up harmony within ourselves, the way we would show up in any organization, as long as we walk in the room with those things, in loving and trusting and being happy or honest with ourselves, to create that harmony within us. Yeah,
that's the whole idea. Whenever a fight comes up, we stand back, we analyze it, figure, okay, what is it about me that attracted that to me? Then we heal that part of us, and then we move on in a bigger and better way. in more harmony.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Living well is a healing journey.
Very cool. Wow. It is a healing journey, and our journeys sometimes are always, they're always changing, always rapidly changing each and every time.
Yeah, I'm not sure I agree with the word rapidly, but certainly everything is always shifting in small ways. And as we are shifting along with it, aligning ourselves more and more with nature's ways, then we are getting more and more happiness, more and more success, more and more health, more and more wealth, more and more relationships.
Got it.
All do good equals feel good.
Well, you're in a conference right now. So what conference are you at?
I am at a conference that is working at furthering the work of a piece of wrongdoing that was done in Canada over a period of decades, probably even more than a century. And that is mistreatment of our Indigenous population. So in order to heal that wound, we have recently had a Truth and Reconciliation Commission. And they were looking into what is called the residential schools, where they went into Aboriginal communities and took the children away and forcibly removed them and put them in these government and church-run schools and abused them and tried to strip away their cultures, tried to strip away their language, tried to strip away their rights.
Mm-hmm.
So they, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission recently released their report.
Oh, got it.
And what we are working to do is find ways to implement what they recommended.
Well, you're in a room and you're having a debate on that. So where is the emotional intelligence in this?
So the emotional intelligence in this is in the healing that needs to go on between it, within them, within us, and between us.
Wow, interesting.
That willingness to heal, that openness to heal, that collaboration to heal is the critical element to healing us as a country and becoming more of a country.
Wow, wow, wow. So it's a pretty big conference.
Yeah, it is. It's very important. And I'm really happy to be contributing to it.
Well, thank you. Do you need to, I need to get back to do you want to, is this good for today?
I think so. We'll just do a quick synopsis of what we talked about, and then we'll laugh our way out.
Sounds good. That's not...
All right. Okay, so in summary, we talked about EQ and IQ, emotional quotient and intelligence quotient. And intelligent quotient was thought up as a measure when we thought that it was all about money and power. And we didn't understand that the internal human power is the most important power.
Wow.
So EQ seeks to provide a higher measurement of collaboration rather than competition. And it seeks to really improve all of our people's feelings, because feelings are what drive action and inaction.
Mm-hmm.
So happiness then is one of the highest emotions that you can have. And so getting happy is going to really, really raise your EQ. And that is going to promote a higher IQ and is going to promote much more collaboration, which in itself provides an exponential increase in the brain power applied to any problem.
Wow.
So build your happiness, build your success, build your sleep and your health and your wealth.
Love that. Very cool.
All right. We'd be happy to help anytime.
Anytime, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so let's laugh our way out and we'll see everybody on Monday.
Thank you, Stephen Wiley. This is Robert Allen McCrae. Have a wonderful weekend.
I'm Stephen Wiley.